Thank you so much. Thank you. Well, good afternoon. And this is the last speech, so I'll try to be short. I know that you're probably a bit tired. It was a long session. I will try to bring all the insights that you heard today from our distinguished speakers together and see whether it makes sense. What I thought I should do as an inside and outsider in the industry, I should offer you kind of inside-outside perspective on the telecom industry. Well, insider, I've been chairman of Vimpelco for a number of years. I was involved in telecom for a long time. But also, I'm a managing partner of an investment firm, private equity firm, that invests in telecoms and technology. So from that angle, I can see different things in the technology world. But before I do that, I just wanted to ask you one question. And I would like to ask you to answer this question very, very honestly. So please, raise your hand if you believe in the bright prospects of the telecom industry. Raise your hand. Okay. Well, I think there were about 10 people or maybe 15 people that raised their hands. Okay, so I think that we definitely need to go into this very short kind of presentation to address some of the gloom in the audience around the industry. This is the only chart that I will share with you today. No more numbers. This is the only one. So this is the telecom industry, global telecom industry. The yellow bars are the revenues. So if you look at the last 5 years, you can see that the revenues stabilized for the global telecoms, and then they went down. And maybe they will stabilize again. But the revenue picture is not good. If you looked at the EBITDA margin curve, then you can see that we are going as an industry from 37-ish, 38% EBITDA margin to around 30%, also with the last 5 or 10 years. At the same time, investments are still very high, so we're around 17% capex to revenues across the globe. Of course, many countries have different metrics, but across the globe, that's it. And then finally, if you look at the multiples to our EBITDA, they have gone down and they stabilized at around 6-ish, kind of. This is the valuation to EBITDA. So that's comprehensively the picture of the telecom industry. Now, of course, it's not a good picture because a multiple of 6 to EBITDA, it's a multiple, it's not very encouraging multiple when you compare it to many other industries. And we have been working as an industry very, very hard for the last 5-6 years trying to optimize and cut costs and do all kind of stuff. But it doesn't seem to actually move the needle. Nothing is actually happening. I don't know if you remember when you were in circus for the last time with your kids, or maybe when you were kids. There is a specific attraction in the circus which is called a squirrel in a wheel. So it looks pretty much like that. So I think that's what we have been doing as an industry for the last 5 or 6 years. We are really trying to run fast to stay at the same place. So we're not really moving at all. So that's more or less what we were doing over the last couple of years. And what happens after all of that, the squirrel gets really tired, really tired. Because if you look at our organizations of telecom companies, people in general are quite tired because they don't believe in the future of the industry. I mean, the question that I asked this audience in the beginning, and your answer, I think you can understand that, you know, if you ask many executives in telecom companies, they'll probably give you a similar answer. So in general, everybody is very tired. Nobody is very clear what to do. And we need to have a new kind of view on the industry. And many insights that we heard today from our speakers, I think, point out in this direction. I think that we have been really trying to improve efficiency of the industry for the last kind of 5 years. And I just wanted to show you a quote of a famous Russian playwright. I believe that he is probably one of the most famous in the world in theaters after Shakespeare. I think his plays were staged more than any other author for the last 100 years. So he had this very nice quote. He said, "No matter how much you shorten a play, it's never enough." And he knew what he was talking about. So no matter how much we cut costs and improve efficiencies, it's never enough, and it will be never enough. Okay. So let me talk about the 3 biggest lies of the telecom industry. But before we go there, let me give you a list of the 3 biggest lies outside of telecom industry, so to speak. So the first one is the check is in the mail. You know, when you ask, call somebody, ask for money, they always say the check is in the mail. The second one, your call is important to us. This is a good thing, right? When you hang on the phone for like 20 or 30 minutes and you wait, and they say your call is very, very important to us. And then the third one, I agree to the terms and conditions. One of the companies experimented a couple of years ago. So on a customer base, I think, of 10,000 people, in their terms and conditions, they put 1 sentence. And as you know, it's like 5 pages of small font text. So they put the following condition, that you won $50,000. So please contact us immediately to collect your awards, no conditions, no questions asked. You know how many people called this company? Nobody. Nobody called them, because nobody reads those terms and conditions ever, right? But everybody, of course, agrees to all the terms and conditions. So if you go to the telecom industry, the first one, data monetization is coming. You probably remember we started talking about this about 5 or 7 years ago. And we're still waiting that it's coming, right? But apparently it's not coming. I think that many people understand that for various reasons this is not happening anymore. At best, we're just trying to replace our voice connectivity revenues by data revenues, not super successfully. There are many reasons for that. There is competition, there is regulation, there are OTT players who killed the messaging SMS market, and so on and so on. So there are many factors in play. But data monetization is not happening in such a way to create the growth engine for this industry. The second one, we have billions of customers as an industry. We are very proud, of course, that we have billions of customers. But are they really our customers? Or are they just people who tolerate us? And they are really customers of somebody else? I think that's a very fundamental question. I will come back to it in a couple of minutes. Then finally, we are a utility. So we have stable returns, and we have spectrum allocation, and therefore it's a safety net, for the industry. So first of all, we are not a real utility. Utilities have multiples to EBITDA of 12 to 16, not 6. So we're not really a utility. It would be nice to be an electric utility and enjoy this kind of multiples and stability. But we are not, because we compete with other players. There are at least 3, 4, often 5 players in the market, and all the margins is basically outcompeted. So we're not quite a utility. So we're neither here nor there. We're not a software company, growing like crazy. We're not a utility, and we're stuck somewhere in the middle. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about what we have as a telecom industry or as a telecom company. First of all, people and talent. Do we actually have people and talent? Well, if you compare a telecom company with a digital company, of course, present audience excluded. We are middle-aged corporate executives, and we have pretty low appeal to the graduate, to university students, to the future of the world, the future of the industry. Of course, digital companies, they have very young, innovative, dynamic people. We all know about this. I thought it would be interesting to look at this graph. This is the attractiveness of various employers to students in different countries. Germany, UK, US, and so on. So you can see that number 1, number 2, number 3 is usually Google, Microsoft, or Apple. In the United States, AT&T is number 43 in terms of attractiveness to graduates of universities. Verizon, 51. In the UK, BT is number 55. In Germany, Deutsche Telekom is 25. In Spain, Telefonica, again, number 25. South Korea, for some reason, does much better. So maybe we need to research what it is there. Singapore, again, 35. So people don't really want to work for us. People, young people, the people who will be creating the future for the next 10 or 20 years. And it is a big problem. So on the people side, we don't really have any assets. That's my belief. On culture, what is our culture? If you look at our companies, and the company that I'm a chairman of included to a certain extent, it's usually very rigid, it's corporate, it's bureaucratic, very long lead times to introduce something new, and so on. Vis-a-vis digital company, where there is a free spirit, there is entrepreneurial kind of culture and spirit in these companies. Okay, let's talk about equipment software. Maybe we have something there. Well, apparently we do not have any R&D capabilities whatsoever. Nothing. We completely rely on our vendors. And with all due respect to all the vendors, they pretty much have us, because they control us, they have big R&D budgets, they develop something new, they move the economy forward. But we don't. We just used whatever they produced. If you compare it to a company which is successful in this economy, it's in-house R&D, open source software, and as John was saying before, very much relying on software. So this is definitely not our asset. Okay, tech expertise. Yes, we have a lot of tech expertise which is related to networks. But in broader sense, in terms of software, we have zero expertise as an industry. Customers. We talked about these billions of customers. So our customers are disengaged by us, disintermediated by others, and they kind of tolerate us. Vis-a-vis customers of digital companies who are usually engaged, satisfied, reasonably happy, and so on. Customer information. Maybe this is our asset. We have a lot of information about customers, probably more than Google or Apple or other guys. But we never use this information. We cannot even collect this information, let alone use it, let alone monetize it. The other people, again, in the digital economy, they process information, they collect this information, and they find ways how to make sense out of this information, both for consumers, but also to monetize this information. So if you look at this list, then the real question is, so what do we have as an industry? Well, there is one answer. We have spectrum, right? So it's kind of oligopoly situation in the industry. But even that is not true anymore. With the new spectrum compression technologies and with many MVNOs getting more and more share of the market, it's becoming also less of a safety net. So let me talk about the last 2 points on this chart about customers and customer information, because I believe that this is the most crucial kind of asset that we can develop. So first, about customers. We definitely need, as an industry, to re-engage our customers, because otherwise it will not work. It will not work. And this is primarily in emerging markets, but also in developed markets as well. So we at Vimpelco, and now the company is called Vion. In fact, this morning we changed the name of the company. We came up with an internet platform which combines many functionalities, top-up functionalities, messenger, and other functionalities. And this is the application that we want our consumers to use. We already launched it in Italy. It will be launched in other countries in the next couple of months. We need to find a way to engage our consumers back. In fact, it was the telecom industry that came up with SMSs, invented SMSs. Now, if you look at young people, approximately 15% of time they spend on the phone talking, voice. Everything else is messaging, messaging, messaging. This is the new way how people communicate with each other, through messaging. And we are not in this business at all, because people are not using SMSs anymore. So we need to find a way how to re-engage back with our customers. And we don't have much time right now, but if you're interested, we'll be more than happy to share with you what we are trying to do at Vion. We have multiple receptions at Soho House here in Barcelona, so you're all welcome to come and talk to us if you're interested. The second thing is customer information. We have so many different IT systems. We store all this information in this IT system. We don't even know what we know about customers. You know, a couple of years ago when we started this program, in one of our big business units, we tried to understand, and they have like 20 million customers or something like that. We're trying to understand how many email addresses we knew of these people. The number we came up with was 5,000. So we had 5,000 email addresses on file for 20 million people. But of course, we do have a lot of information. We know how people pay, how people move. We know very often in many markets people's names and addresses, and we know how they browse the internet. We know it all. But we never managed to pull this together, this information, and to make this information, first of all, to help us serve the customer in a better way, to anticipate customers' needs, but also to monetize this information. So that's the second kind of pillar in our approach as Vion, what we are doing. And this requires a lot of software, back to the point that John was making. So we need to move from telco to techno. We cannot stay as an old traditional telco anymore, because we'll become irrelevant very soon. So we need to move in the software game. And to move in the software game, it's not so easy, because we are the biggest enemies of ourselves. We and our rigid and reasonably bureaucratic corporate culture and kind of legacy and attitude inside telecom companies. I believe that we need, as an industry, to build an enabled gateway to consumers. Today, we are a gateway to consumers, but we are not enabled. Without the things that I mentioned, it is not enabled. So we need to make it enabled. And the enablement is the software. And then we need to think and create the new business model. Because connectivity revenues, you saw what's happening with the connectivity revenues for the last 5 or 10 years. And this trend will continue. I don't believe we can do much to reverse this trend. So we need to stop thinking about our business as charging people for connectivity, charging people per minute or charging people for gigabyte and so on. Because we're very blindfolded. We're trying to increase our ARPU, from 10 euro to 11 euro, from 10 euro to 10.3 euro, and so on. And we're missing the big picture. So we're a bit as this horse, kind of completely blindfolded, focusing only on our ARPU. Whereas the same consumer who spends in Italy, for example, 10 euro per month, the same consumer also spends at least 500, 700 euro on many other things. But we do not participate in these other things, because we are focusing only on what we know. So we need to think how to have incremental revenues on top of connectivity revenues. If we can analyze the data about our customers, we can help many other industries, banks, insurance companies, transportation companies, any other industry, to target customers in a much better way. First of all, to be more relevant to customers, because we will not bother customers unnecessarily. For example, I'm on one of the UK networks, and every time I'm in Los Angeles for some strange reason, I get this message from my carrier back from the UK saying, well, there is a £2 discount on a pizza in Mayfair if you get there in the next 2 hours or something. So that's the level of data that telecom companies kind of use about customers, which is absolutely appalling. It's like 18th century. So we really need to find new business models, and we need to improve our revenues not only by improving connectivity revenues, which may or may not be possible given the situation, but we need to get into distribution business. We need to be the enabled gateway to millions and hundreds of millions of consumers and help other industries and other businesses to sell products to consumers in real time, at a time when the product is relevant by consumer, is relevant to consumer, is requested by consumer. We need to anticipate customer needs. And then we should take a cut from each sale. So in terms of business model, that's what we are pursuing at VEON. Of course, we are curating our connectivity revenues, and hopefully they will last for some time. But we are very quickly trying to build a new business model along the line that I just described. So I believe that we really need to shift the paradigm for the industry. We need to think about completely new horizons. We need to think beyond connectivity. And we need to become relevant again to our customers. We need to become engaged with our customers. We need to deploy software capabilities. Without software, there is no tomorrow for telecom industry. We need to change the culture, which is very, very difficult, of many of our telecom companies. Only in that case, I believe that there will be a bright future of the industry. But actually, I believe that there is a bright future for the industry. It's just not in the traditional sense. We really need to change the paradigm and to go beyond connectivity. Thank you very much.